Hello and welcome to the June 2nd edition of Speedway Digest, Thursday Night Thunder, the most hardcore motorsports program on the internet. It's episode 237 of the series. I'm your host, Adam Jason Sinclair, and on tonight's program, we'll be talking about IndyCar, Formula One, NASCAR, and whatever other motorsports news pops up in the conversation. Our first guest tonight is Tyler Bereman. Tyler Bereman, known to the world as one of the top freeride motocross athletes, has won 10 X Games medals, including his cherished gold medal at X Games Minneapolis in 2019. Tyler grew up in Templin, California, and currently resides in Murrieta, California. 805 Beer presents The House That Built Me, the Tyler Bereman story, a feature documentary profiling the professional freeride motocross athlete. 805 Beer is proudly brewed by Firestone Walker Brewing Company in Paso Robles, California. The House That Built Me highlights Tyler Bereman's small-town origins in Templeton on the central coast of California, where he grew up surrounded by bikes. A soulful mix of speed, style, and creativity, all baked into produce the well-rounded athlete that Tyler is today. But he didn't do it all on his own. Tyler's grandfather and father empowered Tyler to chase his dreams while enjoying the ride. With their influence, Tyler built his name into a leader amongst freeriders. Featuring reviews with industry legends including Robbie Madison and Jeremy Twitch Stenberg, the film unearths who Tyler is and all the people and events that have shaped his path along the way. We're now pleased to welcome Tyler Bereman to the show. Hello, how you doing this evening?
Hey guys, how's it going?
Doing pretty well. First off, how did you decide to do The House That Built Me?
The whole reason behind it was just kind of telling the story of where I came from, and no better place to tell the story than the 805 Beers YouTube. 805 is my area code and where I grew up in the central coast of California, and it was just awesome to have the opportunity to be growing up around there, but now be sponsored by the company and be one of the faces of the moto side of the company. And they wanted to tell the story about, where I grew up and my humble beginnings. So it just kind of worked together really well, and stoked that 805 was able to help jump on board and help me tell my story of coming from such a small town and kind of where I've gotten to today.
And second off, how did you get your start in the world of motorsports?
I got my start through my family. My dad grew up racing, and my grandfather rode too, and got him into it. And then my dad raced for a long time, kind of took a back seat on racing, and then he had me, and then he kind of started racing, taking me to the track when I was a kid. He started racing again for fun after racing professionally for a while, and kind of just born into it. So just kind of pretty much all I've ever known is my life on two wheels.
What was your favorite thing about doing the film?
My favorite thing about the film, at least just kind of creating the film, was reliving my whole life in content, seeing, kind of remembering where I came from, and a lot of these moments that I've been able to live out and fulfill these dreams, and just kind of being able to relive it and see it all tied together into one film and just telling my story. That was the funnest part. It was basically a blast from the past for me, and felt like I lived the whole thing over again.
Aside from your father and your grandfather, who was your motorsports idol growing up?
My motorsports idol was Jeremy McGrath for sure. He's in the early 90s, he was the guy. He was the king. They call him Showtime, and he was the king of Supercross. So I had him painted on my wall when I was a kid, and when I grew up, I wanted to be just like him.
I know McGrath's gone on to do some four-wheel racing as well. Do you have any plans on doing any four-wheel racing in the future?
They say with age comes cage, so it's something I'd always be interested in doing, and I love everything with a motor and wheels, so that would definitely be something I'd be interested in doing in the future. But I'm gonna keep doing my two-wheel thing until the wheels fall off.
And how many races do you compete in each year, on average?
I grew up racing, and I used to chase it a lot, and even into the pros, I raced a lot. Now I kind of took a back seat on the racing stuff and kind of leaned more towards content stuff. I have a handful of select races that I really enjoy to go to every year. Pretty much have about 4 or 5 races throughout the year, and then about another handful of 4 or 5, events or contests for between best whip and quarter pipe contests at X Games and Nitro World Games and some other stuff. So I basically have, five races, maybe five contests throughout the year, and other than that, I'm traveling around the world and creating content. And I think it's kind of what I do. What I do now is I took a back seat on racing because of injuries, and now it's all about creating content. And I think the content lives forever. So that was the whole goal behind making this film as well.
And if people are interested in learning more about you or learning more about the movie, how do they go about doing that? What's the best way?
Yeah, if you wanna see the movie and you haven't already, just go ahead and go on to 805 Beers YouTube and type in The House That Built Me. You can watch the whole feature film, and then if you want to follow along with what I have going on after that, obviously social media, you can reach me at my handle at Tyler Bereman, and yeah, just follow along, and you can continue to see the ride of what I'm doing and how I'm continuing to live my life after creating this film.
Awesome. Well, we'd like to thank you very much for coming on the show tonight, and wish you lots of luck in your future career, and hopefully we get to see a lot more interesting stuff from you in the years to come.
Awesome. I really appreciate the support, and hopefully we'll talk again soon in the future.
Thanks. That would be great. Thank you. Have a nice evening.
Yep, you as well.
Once again, that's Tyler Bereman, who has the current new movie, The House That Built Me, the Tyler Bereman story, which you can find on 805 Beers YouTube page. Be sure to check it out there. Are you a race car driver, crew chief, pit member, track owner? Maybe you're just a huge fan of the sport. Contact us to get your spot on the show. After all, you deserve your 15 minutes of fame, and we'd love to hear from you. The easiest way to do that is to go to speedwaydigest.com, check out the racing news section at the bottom of the page, click on my name, Adam Sinclair, and you'll find all the information about me there. The easiest way to contact me online, whether through the Facebook or through email or any number of things, you can find all that contact information at the bottom of the page on speedwaydigest.com. Now we're going to have our next guest tonight will be Troy Adams. He's going to be on in about 10 minutes. Let's go ahead and talk a little bit, shall we, about last weekend's racing. Last weekend was, of course, the biggest weekend of racing. We talked a little bit about that last week before the program. So let's go ahead and get into that a little bit now. Last week was the Indy 500, of course, and the winner of that was Marcus Ericsson. It was great to see him win the race. It was a good ending to the race. Unfortunately, Pato O'Ward finished in second. We were pulling for Pato O'Ward. He's a good friend of the show. He's on this program about 3 or 4 times now. That was pretty awesome to see him do that well. He had a really good shot at the end in winning, but it just didn't pan out for him. He's had some comments recently about the fact he didn't think the motor was set up quite as well as some of the other motors. But, he pulled everything out of it he could, and he just fell a teeny bit short. But again, we'd like to congratulate Ericsson for his victory in the Indianapolis 500. Now, we unfortunately did not get to see the Coca-Cola 600 last week, because the Coca-Cola 600 was on a little bit late for us. It ended up being a really, really long race. But it seemed like it was a pretty good race when it was running. They had a lot of delays, rain delays, water delays, all sorts of delays. The same sort of thing happened actually in Monaco, the Grand Prix of Monaco. But it should be the next race should be a lot better, a whole lot better. And we're looking forward to seeing that as well. Should be a really fun weekend there at the Worldwide Technology Raceway, which of course is sold out for this weekend, which is pretty awesome. And of course, the NASCAR Xfinity Series will be out west in Michael Malali section of the woods in the Portland International Raceway. They'll be there tomorrow. No, not tomorrow. Saturday. They'll be there Saturday. They'll be there tomorrow as well, but they'll be out there Saturday for the Pacific Office Automation 147, which starts at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time. That's 1:30 p.m. local time. It will be on Fox Sports 1 as well as MRN and SiriusXM and NASCAR Radio. It will be Saturday. And the NASCAR Emerald Series will be coming Saturday in the Worldwide Technology Raceway. That will be at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Should be good to see that. That will be on MRN as well as Fox Sports 1. So it'll be a busy day of racing on Fox Sports 1 on Saturday, going from the middle of the country out to the West Coast. And then the NASCAR Cup Series will be also competing at the Worldwide Technology Raceway. That'll be on Sunday at 3:30 p.m., also on Fox Sports 1 and MRN Radio. Now, there's also an IMSA race this weekend in Detroit. Looking forward to that. It should be interesting to see how that goes. It's always cool to see the racing in Detroit on the streets of Belle Isle. but we'll see how the future of that is. There's some rumors that that's one of the races that's on the chopping block if they do go to a 6-hour race in Indianapolis anytime in the near future. Not sure how that'll change things, because the race in Detroit has always been a marquee event especially for General Motors, but Ford and other racing motorsports companies are based in the Detroit area, as is, of course, the Toyota has a large thing there in Detroit, as do pretty much every automotive manufacturer has a presence in Detroit, Michigan. So it'll be cool to see how that goes in the future. Hopefully, they're able to work something out where they continue the racing at historic Belle Isle, as well as have the race in Indianapolis. It's supposed to be a 6-hour race in Indianapolis when they do get that, probably in 2024, although there are some rumors that it comes out next year. Speaking of rumors, there's one that was actually confirmed today. Let's go ahead and talk a little bit about that, shall we? Let's bring it up here on the computer and see if it'll pop up. If not, I can go ahead and mention it. All of you probably have heard that Rick Ware was going to be expanding his racing more worldwide. He does have, of course, the face in NASCAR with Rick Ware Racing. He also competes in Europe in the FIA, and recently he sat on with the FIM World Supercross Championship. Now he's going to be racing in motocross and supercross. It'll be kind of cool to see how that goes. We did just talk to Mr. Biermann, who has some experience there in motocross and supercross. So it'll be cool to see how that goes. I don't know how a NASCAR team will end up competing in the FIM Supercross World Championship, how they'll do. I know that in the past when there have been other teams who competed in Supercross who were NASCAR connections. So there's always been a connection there. Racing is always interconnected. But it'll be interesting to see how Rick Ware does with that. I'm going to do a little bit more in-depth stuff about that this weekend, probably on Saturday or maybe on Sunday, it depends on my schedule. And we're going to try and have Rick Ware on the program himself sometime in the next 2 weeks. So it'll be cool to see how that goes. Of course, Rick Ware's also had some success in IndyCar, and he's had lots of success in NASCAR. So it'll be interesting to see how he's able to parlay that into the FIM Supercross World Championship. Now, we are standing by for our next guest this evening. He's going to be Troy Adams. I don't know if all of you have heard about Troy Adams, but he is one of the people who's on Discovery Plus's new series, Baby Drivers, which introduces audiences to the high-stakes world of racing and the kids behind the wheel, aiming to be the next great racing superstar. Adams Motorsports Park in Jurupa Valley, California, is one of the first African-American-owned tracks in the country, and has spent the past 60 years raising athletes. Troy Adams, who himself has raced automobile and NASCAR, is shining a light on the new diverse generation of athletes by creating the #1 driver development program in the country for minorities and women. I did watch a little bit of a promo about that. I've not actually watched the series yet, but I'm looking forward to it in the near future. It is on Discovery Plus. I do have some links to that. I did post a link to the promo for that when I did a story about Baby Drivers for Speedway Digest. Be sure to check that out. You can find it by searching for Baby Drivers SpeedwayDigest.com in your favorite browser search engine. I don't believe there's a search feature on SpeedwayDigest.com any longer, but if you can find it, be sure to check it out. It's a great article, and it tells a lot of information about the series Baby Drivers, as well as the work that Troy Adams does at Adams Motorsports Park. We're going to go ahead and talk to him briefly about that in a few minutes. Let's see what else is going on here in the world of motorsports, shall we? There's been some announcements in Formula One about sponsorship and that sort of stuff. I'll go ahead and get into that on the weekend as well. 24 Hours of Le Mans is going to be racing towards its 90th edition soon. They race in another week or so on Saturday the 11th at 4 p.m. local time. So that'll be cool to see. I know that will all be on the Motor Trend network. I'm trying to get access to that as we speak. So I do have an email out to the people at Motor Trend, and we'll see how that goes. But that'll be how it's broadcast this year. Motor Trend available on your favorite cable provider or satellite provider. Or you can look at their app, Motor Trend Plus, which is available for download in all your online stores and for your favorite streaming platform. So it'd be cool to see how that comes out. I know that they've had some rain issues the past few years with that, so it'll be interesting to see how that goes. I'm really looking forward to it. I always think the 24 Hours of Le Mans is a great race. I will unfortunately be out of town that weekend, but I'm going to try and see as much of it as I can. You never know how that goes. Again, we talked briefly about the IMSA race, the Sherry Sports Car Classic at Belle Isle Park, taking place this weekend. The racing there starts at 3 p.m. Eastern Time on Saturdays. Be sure to check that out. That'll be on the USA Network. In news from the Formula E Series, Indonesia is going to have the Formula E World Championship at the Jakarta Grand Prix taking place, the Jakarta E Prix, taking place in a few weeks. Let's go ahead and see when that is exactly. I know that's coming up very shortly, very, very shortly. That'll actually be this weekend. Saturday will be a free practice in Indonesia and qualifying. You go to FIAFormulaE.com/live for details about the broadcast and where you can see that. Or go to FIAFormulaE.com/watch, which gives you more information as to where you can tune in from, where you are. Now, it should be great racing there in Indonesia. We're going to go ahead and publish a little bit about that probably Saturday morning. It really depends on how well we get going. So, it should be pretty cool. Talking a little bit more about this past weekend's action, the Formula One Monaco Grand Prix had a record number of viewers, 1.4 million on ESPN, which is their domestic partner here in the United States. It was an interesting race, to say the least. They did have have a lot of delays and that sort of thing. Sergio Perez, of course, finished in the top finishing position there. And again, we're hoping to see to get a chance to talk to someone from Formula One in the near future. I have a bunch of feelers out, and it just hasn't panned out as of yet. We're hoping to talk to someone from Formula One when they were here in Florida a few weeks ago. Unfortunately, it just didn't work out. But it should be a good race there this next time. I know Formula One does have some breaks in their schedule during the summer, so we'll see how that plays out and what happens, how the Monaco race will change the future. In other racing news this weekend, the NHRA New England Nationals will be taking place on June 3rd through the 5th in Epping, New Hampshire. The qualifying will be on nhra.tv. There is coverage on Fox Sports 1, qualifying show at 9 p.m. Eastern on Friday, tomorrow. Qualifying show at 7 p.m. Eastern Time on Saturday, and finals at 7 p.m. Eastern on Sunday. That is all on Fox Sports 1. So if you're interested in the National Hot Rod Association, be sure to check that out on Fox Sports 1 at 9 p.m. tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Saturday night, and 7 p.m. Sunday night. I'm going to go ahead and post some information about that tomorrow as well. Probably tomorrow, either tomorrow or Saturday. So we'll check that out as it goes. We can go ahead and touch on this a little bit. The Juan Pablo Montoya did have a new sponsor this weekend for the Indy 500. I'm not going to post that online because it is old news, but I'll go ahead and tell you about it. Progressive Auto Insurance was one of the sponsors for Juan Pablo Montoya as he aimed to win his third Indy 500 racing for Arrow McLaren. He did have a great time racing for Progressive, although he did not end up in victory lane. So we'll see if he ends up competing again next year. I don't know whether he's going to or not. It's one of those things where he isn't a young man compared to a lot of the people in the field, compared to Federal Ward especially. So we'll see how that goes in the future. But it seems like it's sort of a transition there in IndyCar, where there's a lot of older people, older as in the 40s, and that sort of thing. and there's a lot of young people in their 20s who are competing, and not really much in between. So we'll see how that goes in the future. Hopefully, there might be another new group of people coming in, but I think this is one of those sort of things where they've got a pretty full field, and it is what it is the next couple seasons. So we'll go ahead and move on a little bit here. See if we have anything new coming in as we're speaking. It doesn't look like we do. So let's go ahead and see. Our next guest is scheduled to be on momentarily. So let's go ahead and see if he's going to be on the program or not. Just give him a couple minutes. Again, Troy Adams is supposed to be on the show. Troy Adams was raced in open wheel and NASCAR, currently one of the people who help train people at the Adams Motorsports Park in Europa Valley, California. I've seen his son is a really great racer and interested in changing the way the future of open wheel racing is. But he's a really young guy too, and it'll be interesting to see how that goes. Again, we're giving him about another 4 or 5 minutes, and then we'll see what happens there. It has been a few weeks since we were supposed to have him on the show. I did have some issues I had to deal with here at Speedway Digest Thursday Night Thunder World Headquarters, but they're all pretty much dealt with now, and I think we're doing pretty well. We do have some great shows coming up, as I stated. We're going to have Rick Ware on hopefully in the next few weeks. On Saturday, actually, we have an awesome show lined up for you. We're going to end up talking to a guy who races in Europe in the IMSA series, not IMSA series, in the FI World Endurance Championship series. So it'll be cool to talk to him there. That'll be Saturday morning. I'm thinking at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. And it is a special Saturday show because of the fact that he is way over there in Europe. And we'll see whether we're going to end up having that, how that's going to work out. Again, we're supposed to talk to Graham Rahal because they're running a special Hard Rock Vodka Rahal Letterman Lagan partnership in Nashville, Tennessee for the race there. But it just didn't work out before Indianapolis, and we didn't end up getting to talk to Rahal. We're going to try and work something out. We're going to contact Sammy Eanes, who's one of the PR people there for the vodka thing for Dale Jr., and we'll see if we can work out something in the future. Again, we have a great show for you on Saturday. We'll hopefully get that all laid out. Everything should go well. It'll be Saturday at 11 a.m., so be sure to be back here at 11 a.m. on Saturday morning. Again, we're going to give Mr. Adams about 2 or 3 more minutes to see if he connects tonight. If not, we can have him on the show in the future. Again, we did have to reschedule him from, I think, a few weeks ago. Hopefully all of you liked the show we had last week with Michelle de la Pena. I think that came together rather well. So I think she'd be happy with the fact that Ward finished in second as well. So we'll see how that all panned out. I'm hoping to talk to Michelle de la Pena again before the end of the season, as I'm hoping to talk to a few other drivers as well. Again, future guests, we're going to have to go Dickerson back on the show sometime in the next few weeks, and he'll end up talking about what he's been doing. I know he hasn't had the busiest year, at least racing-wise, but every time he does get behind the wheel of a race car, he seems to do really, really well. So he's just not as busy as he should be. And you don't hear his name as much as you probably should. And that's part of the reason why he's going to be on this show. We're trying to end up to help him out a little bit here. But again, we're trying to go ahead and see if we can find it. There he is. I get the information about the guy we're going to call on Saturday, which will be. Let me get a name for you. I'm going through it. Rob Hodes, who races in LMP3, is going to be up. He's moved up into LMP2 this year. Races for Team Virage in the European Le Mans Series and the Michelin Le Mans Cup. We did do a brief article about him last month, so we're hoping that we can have a good talk with him on Saturday morning. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes, how the 4 hours of Imola, how he competed there, what he's doing to warm up for the 24 Hours of Le Mans, which is next weekend. I'm pretty sure he's going to be involved in that, and we'll see how he does there. Hopefully, he does really, really well. He's going to be sponsored by the Exodus Road and the Road to End Human Trafficking, which is something we'll get into as well with him next weekend. Actually, this weekend, Saturday. So the reason why we're doing it at 11 a.m. on Saturday is because he is going to be in Europe. He's going to be competing there, and he's got the time change is a real pain. If he was going to be on there right now, it would be about 2 o'clock in the morning, a little after 2 in the morning, and it just doesn't work out time-wise for him. Although we have talked to people in Europe before, middle of the night type things, and it's been kind of fun. But I'm always into trying to make it more convenient for my guests, which is why I like to try and schedule them for convenient times for them. And I appreciate the fact that they sometimes have to reschedule from my schedule as well. So that's always a good thing. Let's go ahead and give it 1 or 2 more minutes, and then we'll see if we might have to reschedule Mr. Adams again for next time. Now, as I stated, we're going to be talking to Rob Hodes on Saturday morning. So we'll talk to him about that, about how he races for LMP2, how his Pro-Am division of the European Le Mans Series and the Michelin Le Mans Cup, how he competes there, what he does with his sponsor. His teammates are Gabriel Audbry and Jaisman Jafar. So we'll see how he's done there this season. So far, he's had a couple of races in Europe already. Well, unfortunately, it doesn't look like Mr. Adams is going to be able to join us this evening, but we'll go ahead and have him on in the future. I'll go ahead and contact his people very shortly. Be sure to check out past episodes of Thursday Night Thunder, as well as the other shows on the Speedway Digest Radio Network at speedwaydigest.podbean.com. You can also check out the show on Facebook by searching for Speedway Digest Thursday Night Thunder in the search bar. I also invite you to read the articles covering all aspects of motorsports at speedwaydigest.com. In addition, if you're a fan of South Florida and who isn't, be sure to check out the latest news and information about our Slice of Paradise on my fairly new blog site for Warplum's Fantastic Finds. I have been able to do that full-time, off and on, compared to some of the times I've hadn't had much time for it at all. So spending a lot more time on that. Any of you who followed me earlier a few years ago, when it was been 7 years since I started on Palm Beach Happening. Palm Beach Happening got me really, really involved in local news and information. I've tried to share that now on Warplum's Fantastic Finds, which can be found on Facebook, Twitter. The easiest place to find on Twitter is at PB Happening, and by heading to for Warplum's Fantastic Finds. That's FABORPLUMBS fantasticfinds.wordpress.com. Once again, thank you for listening, and we look forward to seeing you again in 2 weeks, because next week we'll be traveling in the Thunderdome as we discuss the major issues in the world of modern auto racing. Have a great night, and once again, thank you for Tyler Bereman for coming on the show tonight, and we hope we can reschedule Troy Adams for some time in the future. Thanks again. Have a nice evening.